I don't think it's
attorney.
easy.
So anyway.
Yeah, yeah, I switched places.
Yeah, you sure did.
He's not coming. So this is how I suggest we go forward today, because we've had difficulty trying to talk about these issues in the past. We're gonna have these items on the agenda here. I'm gonna do a short, brief introduction about what the item is, and then we'll make sure everyone has a turn to address the item before we double up. So before someone has a second chance to talk about it, we'll make sure everyone has their opportunity to speak and express their opinion on the item.
Just before you go,
Yes, sir?
on Thursday, I think it was, but it might have been Friday, we received an agenda for tonight's meeting,
Uh-huh.
and then today, we received an agenda that's different, that has some additions to it.
What's the
That's my
difference?
fault, Ray.
I'm wondering if, to the best of my recollection, we had some kind of a conversation about not adding anything to the agenda less than 3 days prior.
Absolutely, what's the difference,
Yeah.
Cindy?
Well, the solar law and tourist homes that Bev wanted, it was in my email, like, the middle of last week, and I didn't get it on there, and then I found it today, so that's totally my fault.
Yeah.
And is it Friday or Thursday that we said?
I don't know.
I kind of remember
3
Thursday.
days.
I don't know the answer. I don't know the
But I
answer.
don't.
So we can
Okay.
take the solar panel thing off.
The only thing I'm worried about is that if it didn't get to the Isle of the Grand and out to the public, like our website and stuff like that, there's sufficient amount of time for people to read that, and we're gonna be discussing it. That means those people won't be here.
I think you're right. I think we can table the solar panel, solar law issue, unless you, Bev, you put it on there, do you oppose?
It was only informational.
So how about the tourist law issue? I think that's.
Yeah, that was informational too, and I wanted, actually just wanted to set a public hearing, but
We could
I
do
had
it
gotten it
next
all.
Monday without
Okay.
losing anything,
Right.
I don't
Fine.
think. Because really,
yeah,
we
those,
can,
we don't
that'll
lose
give
them
us the
six.
opportunity to look at the law between now and then as well, so. since I
Well,
just
we
went
meet
over-
next Monday, right?
No,
It's
the town board,
it's
school
Labor
board
Day.
is, yeah, you guys all have golf tournaments, there's people involved in a golf tournament.
It's Labor Day. We can still, there's not gonna be a discussion on the law. It's circulated for informational purposes at this point. I think we can still make a motion to put it on the agenda for a public hearing for the 6th. Unless there's disagreement by the town board.
At the last board meeting, I wish not to do that because of the fact that if we put that out there, we need to have the law in place, the draft law ready to go. And if it changes, then we have to have another public hearing. I would rather us discuss this and get it to the point where we're all comfortable with what it says or what it doesn't say. And then schedule a
Well, we
public hearing.
have two,
I think we still have time.
we have 2 whole weeks, and I
Well,
gave
when
it
are we,
up.
when are we gonna meet to discuss it?
We'll meet to discuss it. Cindy, I'll put it on the
Set it
agenda
up.
item for the next town workshop, which is a week from.
Which is 2
yeah,
weeks,
right.
2 weeks from today. Unless you set another date.
Yeah, so.
We can do
that-
it next week sometime.
Here we are talking about we were originally, I thought I'd heard the 23rd, but it's actually sometime in October when the current home law expires, is that correct? Where they have to wind up their
That's correct.
carpet and
I believe it's
clothes.
The
October.
first week in October.
15th?
I thought it was the first week.
Something like that.
We have time.
So we have 3 meetings where we could have a hearing and followed by a vote, so I think we have time to allow this to pass.
So you're thinking about setting a hearing for the 19th?
That's probably better than the 6th
Then why
anyways.
don't we just set a hearing for the 19th?
Well, let's not do that
Because it's
today.
a whole
They want to
month.
discuss it, like, I think Ray's
I
right.
guess it's a whole month, we're gonna have at least a couple more meetings in between.
Let's do what we said we're gonna do. Let's hold off and let's discuss it in 2 weeks and we can set a date then.
I'm fine with that, but
Yeah.
we need to sit down and discuss it. There's
I think
a
it's
bunch
good.
of drafts that have come
Yeah.
through, but we really haven't sat here and discussed the whole
I agree.
concept and everything else.
Yeah, I
And I'd like to get that in stone. And there's no reason you can't put it on the agenda on the 6th to, is it the 6th? It is the 6th, to set the public hearing for the 19th. And if we are ready to do that, or, I mean, if the majority is ready to do that, then we could do that. But if the majority isn't ready to do that, then we'd have to delay it a bit.
Sounds fair. Any other comments on this?
And the other was just, I've already put in your boxes,
Since we're talking
Yeah.
process,
Yeah, I got it.
so.
I think we're kinda cuffing ourselves a little bit, in terms of trying not to discuss certain things. I think not discussing content is probably advisable, but maybe I do like at least having that roundtable so we can discuss other items that aren't necessarily on the agenda, but at least start to put a plan together for what we're gonna do at the next meeting.
Well, and I think Ray had a good point too, that, you know, this one wasn't on the agenda, and it's not fair that if it wasn't on the website, I did give it to her with enough time.
Mhm.
The point is.
It was on the website Saturday, so it was a day late.
Oh, okay, it was a daylight, so it was up there. But if that's not on there, and people don't know it, and you don't have an opportunity to come to the meeting, I think that's really kind of why.
So the tourist homes, just for the record, it really was, at 9 this morning, I actually cut and pasted right off of the website. So it wasn't it wasn't posted in Isle de Grand, or, on our town website at 9 this morning, the tourist homes
Was
was.
solar power on there?
Neither was.
See, I put both of
Oh,
them
I
in.
Yeah, if you wanna
Oh,
see,
you
just go
emailed
to my
me.
Facebook, you'll see right what time I
Oh.
posted it, and 2 seconds earlier, I cut and pasted off our
You know
website.
what, I sent it to Jody, but she doesn't work until Monday,
Right,
so that's why.
yeah, it was
So-
sometime after 9 this morning that it got
Well,
posted.
Okay. So,
My
but
fault.
I still think
That's what
that,
happened.
you know, Ryan's got a point, that, you know, if it's not substantial of any sort, then we have to decide whether it is or not. I mean, if we don't post it, people don't know what we're talking about.
You know how we took roundtable off? I wouldn't mind putting roundtable back on. And then if somebody wants to bring something up, they could bring something up. But if there's a pushback from other board members to say, no, you know what, we shouldn't be just discussing that, then we don't discuss that. But if it's something that's kind of inconsequential, it really doesn't, it's not a public, I'll give you an example. Number 6. Let's say number 6 wasn't on the agenda today,
Mhm.
but we got that information after the fact. That's not a thing that the public is really all that interested in. I don't really care if we give a waiver to this gentleman or not. So that's something that actually could be taken care of during the roundtable. If, something else came up, and I said, geez, I'd like to discuss that, and the rest of the board went, no, I don't think we ought to be discussing that, because, you know, that's something the public really ought to know about, and have information about to be here. So that's the reason I would like to see it the roundtable.
What you don't want is the roundtable being used for non-substantive comment, or for substantive comments.
Right.
So
Or
substantive
for putting
discussion.
things on last minute, that people aren't aware of
Yeah,
what's,
yeah.
you know. But, you know,
There might be an
We
issue
can
that
just
you
put-
bring up, that,
Instead of roundtable, we can just do what most
we
meetings
can
do.
suspend
is-
the rules though, if we need to, can't we, in order to add something? Just like we're doing a work.
You don't have
no,
to
this-
do that
that's,
for
that's
workshops.
not for work.
Open meetings law does not require you to have an agenda
But,
for
but,
workshops.
but we're not going with a legal requirement, we're going with a policy.
I'm just saying, so you don't have to suspend the rules to add.
We could simply put a first section saying business matters at the beginning, where it's not substantive, where it's about things like dates or scheduling.
That's fine,
So let's just do that.
that sounds great.
That sounds good, Jen.
So
Yeah, I can agree.
Going to the first issue, this is a temporary sign code. So the issue is this, there's a local daycare center, they want us to suspend the sign code. The sign code basically says you can do 4 different public sign advertisements throughout the year, but they can't be combined into one chunk. They're having a grand opening, they wanna combine those 4 different periods into one chunk to advertise their business. Comments from the board, let's go around the room.
That sounds like a, exception or a variance. Wouldn't we just approve that if it's a temporary one-off situation? Just like we would for any other case like that?
It is, but we just wanna make sure there's no objections to it that we're unfairly.
There's something in our code about grand openings that allows you to do something. You want me
There's
to
the,
go get
there's
the code book?
the signage.
I can get the
Oh, you
code
get it?
up for
You
you.
get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
That's
something
in there already.
there's something specifically about grand openings.
Yeah,
I have
think you're right
I
about
have
that.
I have a bad feeling about doing something like this because it may create a situation where other people wanna do the same thing, and then all of a sudden, instead of having to get the sign, I'm gonna give you an example. If there's a business, a property, that has 3 businesses on that property, they can have the sign forever.
it's like, if I have, say, a salon,
Mhm.
and I'm only gonna have one sale, and I decide I'm gonna use my sign for 120 days for that one sale. You know, I mean, just as long as we don't set a situation up where people are gonna do an end run with it,
Chris, any thoughts?
you know?
I'm okay with it. I mean, it's a grand opening. and
Yeah,
I think
I
there
think
is something
grand
in the
opening, there
code for
is a
that.
situation.
I can remember seeing something in the code, if I'm not
Not your
mistaken, but.
temporary signs?
Yeah, I think so, Pat.
Alright.
it-
Or we
it-
could do,
it
that would be our
part of the-
exception is for grand openings.
You know, if it becomes a use, then we can use it.
What
Yeah.
Baker Center is this one? Still in Rankin?
This is the one that's going to move into where Jackson is.
New
Okay,
daycare
yeah,
center.
Yeah, the-
Yeah.
the Carolina, whatever it is, from
Yeah,
down on the other.
One
up there.
next to,
So they want,
They want to do 120 days of advertising,
Okay,
essentially.
like 295-9.
That's where I'm at, yeah, I'm just trying to see, where's 295.9, that's temporary signs, I don't know if that'll, I don't see anything regarding grand
Grand
opening, but I can go through the rest of it while you guys keep talking.
I didn't see anything. I mean, Mike, any thoughts?
On this one, I have a similar concern that you could do it every quarter or continuously, but, I don't have it just sounds like a variance to me. They just gotta get approval,
yeah,
I mean, changing the code for a one-off, I don't,
no, we wouldn't change.
no,
we
we're
wouldn't
gonna
the
change
code.
it.
oh, I thought that's what was
We're
going.
basically letting them,
No.
we're giving them an
Basic,
exception.
a special exception.
It's not, I don't see it here, and it may be, you remember, we went through this sign thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
We may have just kicked it out and just said, you know what, the heck with this grand opening stuff, you can just do what's here now, and you can have that sign.
I know we had a conversation about linking them consecutively for things like this, I remember that. But maybe you're right, we took it out, I don't know.
My take is,
Reading there.
my take is that we don't want to make exceptions unless there's really good reasons to do an exception. 30 days is a pretty long grand opening anyway, right?
Wait a second.
What?
When you read this, they can do it.
They can do it.
Yes.
Read it to me.
It says, to advertise events for churches, schools, charitable and nonprofit organizations, collectively non-commercial events. I guess they're commercial. Never mind.
I mean, I want to support the business. They're having a big change, but I think you want to make exceptions only when there's a really good reason to
Alright.
make the exception.
Sorry, I was reading the wrong spot. Limited activities in connection with the principal use or activity on the premises up to 4 times per year and for a period not exceeding 30 days per permit. So I get a permit, the permit's up to 30 days, I get another permit.
Right.
It doesn't say any time in between. I don't think we have to do anything, they can just do it.
I think that's why,
Is that how it was interpreted in the past?
Well,
well, I think
I
that's
don't
why
think
we
anybody's
took it out
done it
of there.
like that before.
Yeah,
I think that's the
Let's
issue.
get the opinion of the attorneys, make sure. I'll ask them tomorrow. I'll see what they think about this, whether they think it's okay.
I think
and
you
if
can do
it's
it.
okay, then let's go.
Yeah. You just have to renew your permit essentially.
You just have to.
You just can't let it expire.
Let's make sure that's the exact way it's interpreted and we're not missing any section of the law.
Hmm.
And then we'll go
And so
from there.
they know whether to renew.
Yeah,
it
they have
or
to come in and renew it, it's not a 120-day permit, it's a
Yeah.
30-day permit.
Right. Next item, national fee proposal. So the issue here is, and if I have some part of this wrong, let me know.
Wait,
Yep.
what do I tell them?
I'll tell you afterwards. We're gonna tell them, we're gonna look at the law, see
Okay.
how the law is interpreted. And if we can do what Ray's saying, which is he thinks that under his interpretation of the law, they can do it just by filing a new permit, they'll do that. If they can't,
Well, the law says there has to be 30 days in between each 30-day.
it doesn't say that, he's saying he doesn't see that in the law.
I didn't read that.
Okay, this is what Bill Shaw said.
This is what Bill Shaw said
Well,
the other
he's
day as
reading it
well.
right from the.
But he doesn't see it right now, that's why I'm gonna ask if it was interpreted that way or some other
Perfect.
section of the law. We can't commit the whole law to memory right now,
Of course.
so I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Okay.
National fuel proposal, so my understanding of this is that there's this, we've been given a notice that they're gonna start using the pipeline for fracking gas from Pennsylvania.
Is it, do we know, is it, liquefied or is it natural gas?
I think it's natural gas, it's not liquefied.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
it is liquefied.
It is, okay,
I
so
think
it
it's-
could actually leak. If
Ron,
it's natural gas, that's the other part, is it, oil or gas?
It's gas, it's a gas
So if it were to
pipeline.
leak out, it would just volatilize.
I think the
quickly.
issue is this, though, I think some people on the island are opposed to it from a moral,
Explosive
from a
risk.
moral purpose, not a danger purpose. They don't want fracking gas going across the island. Is that your understanding,
There's
Diane?
a bunch of reasons.
Right. Well,
Safe.
Do you mind if I give her the floor for a second so she
You
can
know,
explain?
she probably knows the most about it, but
Please go ahead.
Or maybe Sam.
Sam, would you feel comfortable speaking about it for a second, why you're opposed to it?
Well, I don't know if
Yes,
opposed is the right.
It's not that we are
Yeah.
opposed to anything.
Concerns.
The question, first of all, it's really not clear from your report what they do. We have the compression station, we have the de-liquification station both in Whitfield, and they're gonna use an existing pipe that goes across Grand Island. The pipe is already in place. The proposal right now doesn't say anything at all that happens on Grand Island. So, there really shouldn't be any concern. I think the concern is the people which are opposed to this, and what happens if they don't put this liquefaction or compression station in Whitfield. Since the pipe goes through here, they're gonna put it on Grand
You
Island.
might wanna put it on Green Island.
The only other possibility that I could think is if there's a limit that was originally agreed to in terms of how much fuel would go through at a given time. I don't know, I'm just
Well, I
left
heard
to
they're going to
speculation.
be
It sounded like they were
having-
gonna up the quantity that was flowing across the island.
Yes,
And I'm
because
thinking there must have been a limit and maybe they're going above that. And my question would be then is pipe integrity, you know?
There's supposed to be a hearing or informational in Wheatfield, I believe, that's what I'm hearing.
There is.
So if, I think my recommendation is that we all truck on out there and find out what the proposed plan is.
I think we understand the plan, based on the
Hopefully, yeah.
notice we received, there's not a lot of information in that. So, and I've heard various different concerns raised by citizens already. So I think we have to, the first step, I don't think we can take any action tonight. I think we need to go to the hearing in Wheatfield, figure out what's going on. I can also inquire separately and see if they can give me some more information. But I think we have to gather information at this point before we take any action. Unless there's something I'm missing. Go ahead, Roger.
I think there's a deadline Friday, right,
for comments,
for
public
comments. We wanted, it
Boy,
would be good to have an extension so that we can,
I'll ask for an extension, I'll say as the supervisor, unless the board, if you agree with this, can I put it in the board's name? I'll say that, I'll ask for an extension, saying we need to have more time, we need to hear the hearing, so we can give you comments. Is that,
But I guess I wasn't familiar with the station, is that, if it doesn't go there, then they gotta put it somewhere, or are they talking about actually doing it here?
Well,
There has been,
Wheatfield,
this
there's
just
two.
is all speculation. We have not talked about putting it on Grand Island.
no, he's speculating, he said, basically, what you're saying is, what if it doesn't go that way, who knows where they might put it, it might come here, we don't know enough about this plan.
And if it does go that way, will they still use Grand Island or not? They will?
Pipe.
Because the pipeline is so good.
They are gonna use the pipeline no matter what.
Right.
Okay, so the question is where they put the compression station and the liquefaction station.
And you're okay, and you would be okay if they use just the pipeline but not the,
Provided the pipeline, see, because there's a compression station, we are not quite sure what the specification is for the limit on the existing pipeline.
right,
If they put in a new compression station, are they staying within that pipe and that limit? And is there some way they test this to make sure of the integrity of the pipeline? Because it, that deteriorates over time.
right, so they wouldn't be talking about putting new pipeline in, would they?
No, no,
using existing.
no.
We
Bigger
want to make-
pipeline,
I think that it's, some of the two issues are, the biggest issue is, what is the volume of total gas or liquid that's gonna be going through this pipeline? Is it a massive increase, is it above previous thresholds? I think that's the biggest issue, but we have to figure out more about the entire plan. I think the issues are vague, I think, I didn't know the deadline was that quick.
Yeah.
So unless the town board opposes, I will write a letter and all of our names, simple two-sentence letter saying I want an extension. Requesting an extension so we can gather more information about this, so we're fully
can we
informed.
request a meeting from them here?
We could.
Sure.
That would be even better.
Can I ask a question? Do you know anybody with any expertise along this to get involved in it?
Well, that's what we'll talk to them about.
So actually, so I'm just reading it, it's actually a couple things. One is, it's not coming from Canada
Yep.
across,
Go
it's actually
Pennsylvania.
doing the reverse.
Yeah, go the other way.
Yeah.
So right now, today, the pipeline's going away from Canada, across
Actually,
Grand Island.
it's
Now-
supposedly going in both directions right now.
Okay, this is saying it's being reversed.
Right.
Going to Toronto is the change that they're proposing.
Okay.
I think they're drawing it up from Pennsylvania now, is that what it is? And they're pumping it north?
Pennsylvania, a few different states where fracking's allowed.
I think, those ideas are really good ideas, we could get them
It's not allowed.
Here,
here.
we'll make the request this week, see if we can get them here. Well, they should show, right, it's our pipeline on our island, so
Yeah.
they should show up.
Yeah.
I should say that I did some research on this, what happened years ago was when this, I mean, you guys may know more about this than I do. When the pipeline was first built, the Grand Island opposed it, is that correct?
Yeah.
And then we opposed it, and because we opposed it, there was some offer of a center they were gonna build for us.
There was rumor, I don't know,
Right.
maybe a little bit more than rumor, that's not the right word I wanna use. It wasn't like cast in stone saying, we will give you this, but I think there had been conversation of building out Veterans Park for us. And they were talking about, at that time, $5 million.
But we didn't take the deal, and
We didn't take the
we
deal.
fought them,
We fought
and they
it.
got the right to do it
They got the
anyway.
right to
So
do
the
it.
question is maybe, we'll have to figure out, is there something we
It's
can
a
get out of this, if there's
negotiation factor. You know,
increased,
Your favorite word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Madigan's point is a good one too. What's the integrity?
of the
How, that pipeline is old,
Going a different direction also.
it's going in a different direction. So we do have one expert that you may want to look into, he's from Cornell, Mr. Ingraffia, who you may or may not want to request to come to that hearing, but I understand he knows everything there is to know about pipelines. So he's a scientist, and
do you have his contact information?
we can get contact information.
Gave it to Beverly today.
Can you send it to me?
Yes.
Okay, I guess we'll write the letter, we'll request the meeting, is there any other comments on this before we move on?
So this pipeline actually did have a leak on August 5th, 2012. And they had to evacuate homes over in the Wheatfield area as a result. A big leak. But it was, even though it's liquid, I think it turns right to gas, to air gas. And it's not a ground contamination risk, it sounds like, it's more of an explosion risk.
Okay,
But I
moving
don't
on,
know all the details, I just read quickly here.
Bev, this is your item, next item.
Actually, this is just kind of a FYI. I know somebody over the weekend had, sent me an email about us board members using our phones while meeting. Somebody got up and spoke about it a couple meetings ago, so it's just, I wanted you to know.
Oh, did we skip 3?
I'll go back to it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I skipped it, I saw it.
You did it.
Yeah.
So it's just an FYI that there are people that are concerned that we look at our phones while and they don't feel like we're paying attention to.
Then we need to, I don't, because I don't have the capability, but some people are on it looking
Well,
at like
no.
Patty just pulled up the law or something
Yeah,
like that, so
and Mike-
you may be doing that
Mike
for a
does,
reason.
but he usually is timing people.
Well, I was timing people.
I think,
So I think sometimes just glancing down, I mean, he does set the timer when people are speaking, when we have public hearing. And so we're just kind of keeping an eye on, not letting somebody get away with it, but with anything. But I think sometimes, and that's why I'm just saying, beware, people are watching us when we look down at our phone. Sometimes I'll check and see how much time we have left. But, that was just
I
an
think it's
FYI.
common too, that I'll be pulling up laws or articles like I just did, fact finding.
I think
Yeah.
I think to make rules about this is
Yeah.
a little bit backward. I think it's an essential tool in this day and age. And I think the technology that's gonna coming out soon, I mean, forget the phone, you're gonna have things in your eye. I mean, it's just,
Well,
for us,
you're
you're trying to
talking
make.
about iPads so that we don't have to have all this in front of us, we can actually just
Right.
flip through. So, you know, I wasn't proposing that we do policy or anything like that, I was just giving FYI that somebody said something, so you guys know, and it was mentioned at the meeting a couple public hearings ago.
So, I'll move, go ahead.
I think though, just because we are talking about social media, that I think we gotta be very careful what's posted out there as well, I mean, it's on the agenda, so I'm gonna just air it. There's been a number of concerns expressed, I think. And I think we need to be careful what we post out on the internet. One specific example is someone mentioned, comments that were coming in here to the town board and, actually suggested that based on their opposition to a particular position, that they would like to post their addresses and names to get other people to then persuade them not to continue to oppose that particular person's position. I think that's probably breaking lines that shouldn't be crossed, and I think we need to be very careful how we post and use Facebook.
We have a Town of Grand Island Facebook page, is that correct?
Mhm.
My belief is that Town of Grand Island Facebook page is an informational page to tell you that this is going on, the water's gonna be shut off over there, there's an upcoming concert, there's this going on, there's a meeting that's gonna be held that has this agenda item on it. It's just all fact-based,
And that's all it's used for.
no opinions,
No
nothing.
opinions on the town one.
Okay, sounds good.
So, basically, all I wanted to say was, let's be considerate, responsible, and, you know, the public wants to know we're paying attention to them when they're in a public hearing, that was it.
Moving on,
You go back to 3.
3, garbage on International Drive, we picked up a mess of garbage that was there. So I would like to make a motion that we charge this individual for the garbage.
Peter has given
Peter's
us the
given
proper
the-
motion, I can send it to you. You just have to pass the motion that it's okay to put the cost of that removal onto his taxes.
Right.
That's basically
So-
it,
so
but it's a great
unless-
big long motion.
It was a considerable amount of garbage, so I'll make the motion, unless there's any opposition, that we place the cost of the removal of the garbage on this individual on International Drive onto his taxes.
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion, go ahead.
So, I just wanna understand this, cause I have another thought, it's in a tangent but related. So, it's a one individual, it's a home, is that correct?
That's right.
We're talking about?
Right.
The town actually removed their garbage, is that what we're saying? And we're gonna charge them for it?
Yeah.
It was there for a considerable amount of time,
Right.
and he was given notices that
Yes.
we're not gonna take this much garbage away. It was large items,
Right,
and then eventually, there's too many complaints, we picked it up.
we did it.
So
A
we're,
lot of it wasn't packaged or bagged.
We split the pickup with Republic. We picked up about half of it and they picked up the
Being
other.
relatively new to this process, so let's say there's a home that's not mowing their lawn. Does the town ever go in and mow their lawn and then charge them for it? Have we ever done that?
Once or twice.
They
But
have,
it's been more than just the lawn, there's been.
Very seldom.
Yeah.
But
Very
we've done it,
seldom.
We have.
okay, and this is a similar
If
case
it
to
becomes
that.
a health hazard, I believe that's when
The
they.
one house was dilapidated, there was broken windows, it was rat infested, the town had, the building department had to do something to secure it,
For the
including
neighborhood.
cutting the lawn, which is one of the only times I think, maybe you were here, but other than that, it was only like maybe one time since I've been here.
But it's
And then it
been
goes on their taxes.
and with zombie houses, we
Yeah.
frequently contact, I mean, we do it almost daily. We contact banks and tell
Right.
them, please cut the lawn, and the banks will come out and cut the lawn. We don't do
Do
it.
Extraordinary
Do we
things.
ever fine people for that at all? No.
If we can.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking is, so in this case, we're gonna actually bill this individual.
Goes on their taxes.
I just wonder, in the case of the state, if they're not taking care of their piece of property, if we ended up mowing the lawn, if we can't invoice them as well. Because I really think that they should be just as accountable as any one of our residents, and if they're not, I think that's something we need to really consider, and we should do that.
Good luck collecting.
If
I mean,
we
if
send them
it's
an
just,
invoice,
grandstanding,
it's
we're
not
not gonna-
grandstanding.
no, if we send invoices, I mean, the only thing that's, we can make all the legal arguments in the world, but if you can't collect,
Until we
we're
try
just
it,
wasting time.
I would, oh my God, I agree with the concept. I wouldn't want to take the labor and the equipment to do that and not get reimbursed.
Exactly.
And my feeling is like, Nate, the state's gonna say, oh yeah, right, sure.
And it's been tried before.
Show
in
us in the
other
mail.
states.
we could give first warning, second warning, final warning.
We could, and then we'd go mow it and
Yeah.
send the state a bill, and the state goes, yeah, sure. I
Well,
just don't think the
let's think
state,
about
I don't think the
this.
state
Probably.
is holding up their end of the bargain at all.
Right.
And in the same vein, if we go to, I mean, we're really getting off the subject here, but in the same vein, I don't think the county's holding up to their responsibility to take care of roads.
Right.
Right.
It's awful. When people have to go down Easter Road and take
Well, let's
green
think on
paint
that and
and
I'd
go
like
around,
to
and go
put
around
it
the
on the
pothole
next
so they hit
agenda
them with their
again.
bikes, that's pretty bad.
think about it, cause I really think we should push and we should,
Well, yeah,
we should
we should
try
push.
all our options and maybe that's one of the ones we should think about.
Homeowners should do that. They've been cutting it.
Yeah,
They should send
You know
it
what,
out.
one of the strongest advocates for this kind of stuff, if there's a complaint from a homeowner, I know from experience as being supervisor for the last, whatever, 8 months or whatever, that when I had a homeowner call, there's a quicker reaction than when I call sometimes with some of these lawn issues, or the Beaver Island, Parkway, when that was a mess, when we had citizens calling, in addition to my calls, it helped.
And then, at one time, at a certain point, I don't know if it happened this year, the traffic safety advisory board puts it in writing.
Yeah, that would help.
And then all of a sudden, they're on notice, and if they don't do something.
Yeah,
then
there's a
they're-
liability issue, right. Okay, so again, Bev, this is your issue.
Okay, this isn't really canceling the workshop, I would
Wait,
think we
you need to
answered.
vote.
Oh, yeah,
But you don't need to do a roll call if everybody's. in
roll
favor
call,
of
let's
that.
do it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
You're gonna
this
send
isn't-
that?
that was
I
for
already did.
charging the
Thank you.
state, right?
Charlie.
This isn't really cancel a workshop, but, in some of the questions I have are already answered. I basically was wondering if we, as far as workshops, are we gonna have one on the off weeks? And just looking at scheduling and stuff like that. And
We did talk about that, right?
Yeah.
We were talking
5:30.
about 5:30 on the off Mondays,
on off Mondays.
right?
That'll be
Unless we
every
can-
Monday, right?
Unless of course we cancel.
Unless there's something comes up that or that, or we pushed it to 4:30 because we thought we were gonna do something at 4:30.
Okay.
And this coming Monday, the 29th, we're not having one because people are involved with the Gizmo Golf Tournament and stuff. So
I don't think we need a hard and fast policy, let's just be reasonable toward each other.
Yeah, I
If
was
we
just
need to
wondering
cancel,
what it
let's
was.
cancel.
yeah, but I mean, if you're trying to think of your schedule like Bev is,
Mhm.
yeah,
So 5:30 every off week is gonna be a standing unless of course we cancel or reschedule it for a different time.
And if we have, we have to do an
Regularly.
emergency one or an additional one, we'll schedule it.
Yep.
And if we have to cancel one, we'll be reasonable to
Okay,
each
but I
other.
thought
and
at
cancel.
least I could stick these in.
Right, just
Okay.
make sure you keep
And
posted.
obviously,
Keep me posted.
yeah, and keep you
you wanna
posted.
know?
You wanna have it posted
Yeah, okay.
properly?
Can I ask if, because you aren't gonna do it on Monday, are you going to do a different night next week? Or skip a week?
That would
Let's
be,
let's skip a week for the week after.
well, if they wanna talk about the couple laws that we have,
It's up to you guys, I mean, I
Yeah,
thought
we
we
should
decided we were gonna do
schedule.
the week.
should we try and
Fifth
schedule
is
one?
Labor Day.
You're
Not-
gonna be-
Not next
you know,
week,
you should
is-
I
start
would
next-
say
next week is the
Tuesday
fifth
night
week,
if we
though.
could.
That's fine. It's the fifth
I'll do it
week.
Tuesday night.
The 30th this week, now there's time. Tuesday the 30th is, what night?
Good.
Tuesday the
30th.
30th.
I could do Tuesday the
It's
thirtieth.
it's the fifth
I
week,
can't believe we don't have Tuesday the thirtieth, I mean, it's,
cause
we
you wouldn't have
play
any
the
other
lottery.
meetings. Yeah.
Huh?
Cause it's the fifth Monday, so there's no meetings scheduled. None of your advisory boards have the.
Yeah, so it's, I'm
So you
free.
Usually
Week
works
off.
for me.
Tuesday's fine.
You
What
wanna
time?
do 5:30?
Oh my god, I can't believe how easy that was.
Holy cow.
That's a first.
Let's get a lottery ticket. Okay. Great, that's all I had.
Okay,
See, I'm using my phone to schedule my, so I don't forget. Otherwise, I'm gonna not be here next Tuesday.
Yeah, if it's not on this calendar, it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
okay, could you explain the next issue, that you have a good grasp of it,
Infamous code 267-5.
you spoke to them this
Oh,
morning?
this is,
That's the letter, that's the email from John Whitney.
Right.
yes. Actually, Ray could probably explain it, but I did talk to, a couple people about it, including Bob Westfall, and he explained it. Basically, where, and you can correct me, Ray, if you probably know this piece of property better than I do. Where the piece of property is, in order to, and he's in a sewer district. So when you're a sewer district, you must attach to that particular district, those sewer lines. apparently he's in a spot where he's gonna have to go across a creek, and to go under it makes the sewer line even lower than the sewer line he's connected to. So what, he'd already got, the Erie County Health Department, to okay him putting in basically a septic system instead of going underneath the creek and across, and then would have to come up, which, then he would have to have some sort of force pump, is that correct, right? To push it through?
Yeah, he'd have to have a grinder pump in order to push it
Oh,
through
yeah.
or stuff like that. And
So-
It really does make a lot of sense. There's
And
certain
all we
situations
do,
come up
all
like
we
this.
need to do as a board is give him a waiver.
I think it's
to do
pretty
that.
simple that we should do that.
And I would certainly.
Engineering said, I talked to a couple parties, they said it was okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to allow this.
Second.
Discussion?
So that would get them off of the sewer,
They won't hook up to
Yeah,
the
he's,
sewer.
100% they will be on.
yeah, they'll be on
They'll
a
be
septic
septic.
system.
Okay, septic. Okay. I mean, that doesn't, does that impact the local homeowners in terms of the cost of their sewer bills? Is
No,
only a
sewer
question.
bills, it's based on your water usage.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wondering if it spread out, the more
No.
spread, the
No.
lower the
No,
cost per
Basically the
user.
water.
It's based on the water usage,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Mike, can you
I-
tee this next one up?
Were we gonna vote on that?
I thought we voted, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm moving ahead too quickly. Mike, on the next one?
Okay, so the next one, I'm gonna just change the wording a little bit. It's, rather than, irrigation, it's really farm and ag operations, the water usage part. So, I've met with John Whitney and a number of other individuals, Pam, and we were discussing this. And Hamburg and a number of other farm districts, or, ag districts rather, they have a process where they put out a separate meter. Typically, there's also a backflow restrictor, because some of the farm operations, if there was ever a siphon that developed, could contaminate the water. So typically, they would put a water meter on, as well as a backflow restrictor, and then, they would charge for the water, not for the sewer, for the farm operation itself, separate from the house. I think we should really seriously consider that. I think we wanna promote, the ag business. That's my position, and I would like to, consider putting something on, in that regard to vote, not tonight, during our next meeting, but I'm not really sure of the process we go about forbidding this. Is it a simple vote that we'll do this, or is there a law that needs to be revised, or how do we go about doing this?
I believe this is something that needs to go in front of the special districts committee.
Okay.
People that handle these kinds of things all the time. They can have discussion, and as long as I'm sitting here, next Monday, the 29th, right? 29th, at 9:00 in the morning here in this room, the special districts committee is gonna meet. I am a representative from the town board on that, but I cannot make that meeting.
I'll be here. I'll bring this up to them.
No, you're in the golf tournament too.
Oh, well, I can go to the
Or
golf
you
tournament
just-
late. I mean, I'm not gonna golf well anyway, so.
This was already.
I'll go late.
This was
Yeah,
already
yeah.
referred to.
Yeah, I'll go
Yeah,
late.
I
It's
know,
all
but
right.
what I'm
Oh, so
saying
you need
is,
to be just-
I'm not gonna be able to be there. And I think we need the town board or two members there to listen to the discussion, to bring that information back to this board.
All right.
And I know Eileen O'Neill upstairs, our water billing
Right.
person,
Keep
wrote
concerns.
us an email
Yes.
regarding this. So all that, I think, needs to be taken into consideration as we develop our plan for this.
And the other,
And she's actually, on board with what our current plan is, and when you look at it, there's 7 individuals, in the district that are in sewer zones, sewer districts rather, and out of those, it's only probably half of them that even would be affected by this. So we're talking 3 or 4 of the farms that would really even consider what it's gonna take to make this
the
happen.
essential issue we have to bring up in special districts is, there's this something, this backflow device, I think it's called an RPZ.
Crazy, yeah.
So it's whether they do the full-scale RPZ, which is a sub-pump type situation where you have to have a hole built, it's quite expensive, which is what our town engineer recommended, my last discussion with him. or whether you do the simple backflow device, which is about $80, which is what some like car dealerships on the island use. So that's the key issue we need to discuss with the special districts people, why they want this heavy duty backflow device, and whether that's what they really want.
Probably has to do with the amount of water, like for instance, at our buildings around here, when you look at the RPZs, they're pretty big like this, and one at the Veterans Park is pretty big, because it's the amount of, the flow. I mean, you can get a backflow preventer that goes on the end of your garden hose. Well, it doesn't go on there, it goes from the garden hose to the spigot, it's right there, which prevents that backflow from
It's the
preventing.
pressure that it's
Yeah,
gonna
if
be
you lose,
exposed to.
if you're operating something and your hose is sticking in muddy water, and there's a break in the town line, and that creates a low pressure and sucks it backwards, it would suck this back into your drinking water. So that's why so I think it probably depends on flow, but again, I'm conjecturing, and maybe special districts or John would know better.
I'll report to you guys Tuesday what I hear objectively from them. And
And John could answer that question as well.
yeah. Any other comments on that item for tonight? Well, we're done, believe it or not.
Can I just say,
Go ahead.
under that, like, little business, whatever, but we did cover it, we're gonna have a meeting on Tuesday 30th. So I also would like to set up interview for the cable and communication board. So is it possible that we might be able to do it at that time?
Yeah.
So
We do that all the
try to
time.
set it up,
Just, I mean, whenever you can fit them in there, it'd be nice if it's consecutive,
yeah,
but if it isn't, it isn't. And if
So-
they can't beat that, if they can't come that day, they can maybe come on, Tuesday the sixth.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's okay if I set some of those up?
Okay.
Okay, we have 6 people that put in for
I'm
it,
fine with that.
really awesome, and I will get you copies of all the resumes.
Just-
Bev, do you wanna
Yeah.
start earlier?
Yeah, I
or
think
no?
we missed a
Which item?
Well, number 8.
code enforcement for ag.
Oh, I asked him to table that because we have the general guidance, the legal guidance which I've provided to him several times, and there's no additional guidance to give him at this time. We're applying for this ag districts grant, this money to do the code over. I think this is an item that we can wait on. I know that I told him if there's an urgent issue to bring it to us, but he didn't say there's any urgent issue at this time. He just wants general guidance, which we've already provided. So I asked him, I moved that we table it.
What's Bill's comment? Or Doug's comment?
They keep
I mean,
asking,
It came from Bill.
they
but-
keep asking the same essential
I know,
questions,
it's asking-
which is, how do we,
That's
I
the
know,
question.
well, I know that, but I know
Oh,
this.
okay.
What was his comment back to, you've been given the guidance and,
okay,
okay?
Yeah.
Here you go, that.
his comment to me this evening was, got it, if you get him more information or more detailed information, I told him we're in discussions, we're trying to do our code over, I'm talking to the state, if there's something additional you should know, I'll let you know, and he said, got it.
Okay.
So he was very
We're good?
easygoing.
Good.
Any other comments on that, since we're on it? Go ahead.